Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Adafruit Show and Tell. I'm Liz. I'm going to be your host this evening. If you would like to join the stream to show off your project, you can find a link in the live broadcast chat channel over in our Discord server, and that's at adafruit.it/Discord. First, though, we're going to kick things off with some Adafruit folks, see what people have been working on this week. And we'll start with Scott. Hey, Scott, how are you? Of
Hi, Liz. Thanks for hosting.
course, yeah.
As folks probably know, I've been working on Zephyr, and
Yes.
Zephyr is a real-time operating system that hopefully we can build on top CircuitPython on top of and like save ourselves a lot of time. I'm finding myself saying like, this is the last time I have to implement this thing. Um,
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed,
Yes.
fingers crossed. If you pull up my screen and my laptop screen, if you
Yes.
can.
Mhm.
So what I've got here is this is a Zephyr or a Renaissance RA8 board.
Okay.
Looks like it's a little blurry. Let me see if I can sharpen it up a little bit. And you
Mhm.
can see I've got a blinking LED here. And right
Yes.
now the USB here is through the debugger. And so it's not native USB. That's what these other two ports would be if we were doing
Okay.
native USB.
Mhm.
So because I'm just doing like the serial workflow, I'm using the code.circuitpython.org. So
Nice.
I'm going to connect the device here, and you can't see the drop down that shows up there. But now I can open code.py,
Nice.
and you can see that I'm saying hello, and I'm printing out the free memory, and I'm doing a blink.
Great.
I'm actually going to, I'll change this to just board LED, and I'll hit save and run. And the blue LED is now blinking,
Yeah.
which is the default board LED.
Very cool.
And if you see here where free memory is a big, big, big number,
Mm.
and it's actually 63 megabytes. This is because this board has, I think it's this chip. It's an SD-RAM chip, so similar to what you would get in a laptop or a desktop,
Oh,
but
cool.
kind of
That's
like
very
a
cool.
low power variant. So you can get gobs of RAM that way, basically.
Nice.
And Zephyr is initializing that for us as long as you turn on the right thing. I spent a lot of time today like figuring out why it wasn't working, only to realize I wasn't turning it on,
Gotcha. Yeah.
which is how Zephyr goes, I think. But
Mm.
once I figured out I had to turn it on, um, I can now use that as memory for Python code and stuff too, in
That's
addition
great.
to the remaining internal RAM as well.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, which I'm like SD-RAM is an example of things that we don't support in other CircuitPython ports that now we'll be
Right.
able to do through Zephyr. So I've been like keeping an eye out for all these boards that have SD-RAM, for example.
Nice.
But yeah, getting back to Wi-Fi, trying to get Wi-Fi working on a new NRF 7002 chip instead.
Very cool.
So
Very
that's what
cool.
I'll be deep diving on Friday for.
Excellent. Well, it's been great to see your progress so far with Zephyr, and
Yeah,
you know,
thanks.
getting to Blink is a big accomplishment. So great job.
Yeah, I only did it last week when I actually tested it and it didn't work, so I had to fix that.
Gotcha.
And I fixed the RA8 today too, so
Sweet.
hopefully
All right.
it'll work better.
Nice. All
Thanks,
right.
Liz.
Thanks so much, Scott. And folks can tune into your deep dive on Friday.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Bye. All right. Next, we're going to hear from Jepler. Hello.
Good evening. I've
Good
been
evening.
continuing to work on the stuff on the Raspberry Pi 5 with the PIO
Mm.
peripheral. So the last couple of times it's been with the RGB matrix, and this is the same thing. But if you want to bring up my screen, I'll show you kind of what I've
Yes.
done this time around. So here I
Very cool.
have an ordinary HDMI display
Mm.
plugged into my Pi 5. And up here in the corner, we've got just a little bit of text, but you can see it really big here
Yeah.
because I'm live copying from the Linux frame buffer into the memory that we're displaying, the memory buffer that we're displaying on the RGB panel using Python. And so it's
Very
full
cool.
color
Oh,
and all those things.
so cool.
And
Very
yeah,
fast. Too.
this is just kind of a demo of what you can do. I think there's actual useful stuff, but this was the easiest thing to do. So we've been talking about,
Yep.
can we play videos with MPlayer and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And that'll be
Yeah.
next. I'll be adding this demo to the Git repository soon and doing another release. And
Very
this is just
cool.
complaining that my power supply is not adequate because you need a lot of amps to drive These
Yes.
guys, they use a lot of power. But yeah, that's what's going on, and look for that in an upcoming release of this open source library that I'm working on.
Very cool. I have a dream of being able to take one of the Pi cameras and maybe blit it with the Game Boy filter to this.
Ah, that would be cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
So
good
when
idea.
you started talking about doing a frame buffer, that's why I was like, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so we can do other stuff like you can load an image with PIL in Python and scale it and show it, and that's one of the other demos that's committed.
Very cool.
And then last time around, I showed rapidly loading a succession of PNG files to play Big Buck Bunny. So we can do a lot of stuff, and this computer is so fast that it doesn't matter that it's in Python. We still get 30 frames or 60 frames or something like that, a good number of frames per second on everything.
That's awesome.
So that's what I've been working on, and I'll see you around. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jeff. Bye. All right, now we're going to hear from Brent.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, how are you?
Doing all right. Could you share my screen?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I think I showed this last month. So we've been working on doing like a offline mode for WipperSnapper. So like a really easy way to make like non-IoT data loggers, but like using like the WipperSnapper, like the Adafruit.io like interface for adding components. So we've had this button here for a while, which you can like export like a configuration file. So it like shows up, it's like a JSON file, and it contains like everything about this board. And I've been working on offline mode, but I didn't get to I2C yet. And then with like this new version of WipperSnapper we're building, adding some interesting like new things for I2C. So one of them was like, okay, well, I have two sensors of the same address, which is always like a common thing at I2C. It's like I want to use like multiple of them. Well, like you can't in WipperSnapper currently, but the past week I've been working on a way to get it working. So like,
great.
I'll show you my test rig. So I have like, whoa, really blurry, but I have a Feather ESP32S2, and then this is an ADA logger, and so we have like the RTC for timestamps for offline mode, and then you have a micro SD card, and then we have a 4-channel I2C MUX, and then it's only connected to one sensor, but you can expand that to like multiple of the same types of sensor. So like a lot of our sensors have these like pads on the back, and you can solder it like onto them, and it could like create a second I2C address. But like plugging in like all this demo stuff is really nice for creating data loggers. And I wanted to be able to do that from WipperSnapper. So I'll show you like basically what it looks like from where I am right now. So like on the left is what this configuration file looks like. It like shows the board and like some information about the board. And then it has the components array. So like this is everything that you would see in Adafruit.io is actually being exported out into this file. So it shows the multiplexer, and then it shows the BME sensor, and it shows that's connected to the same address of the multiplexer, and you feed it a channel. So all of this will be available from the Adafruit.io website. So all of this like kind of difficult nitty gritty stuff will be extracted and extrapolated outwards, and people will just be able to click their way through creating one of these devices. And then it's human readable too. So if like you exported it and you were like, oh, I don't have the humidity sensor, you can always add it back in, or you removed it. You can like, this is a file that lives on the device. So yeah, this is what I've been working on. I want to get alternative I2C ports working, because there are boards like the QtPy and then like the Pico that have two I2C ports. So it's like we should theoretically be able to support both of these on WipperSnapper. And then I want to do a public alpha for offline mode, and that will be within the next month to 2 months.
That's great.
Thanks.
I love everything you guys have done with WipperSnapper. It's super easy to use, and I also like the remote monitoring aspect of it. So basically, any project I've made for my parents, I can have it on my IO account, so I can see it and troubleshoot it remotely if they ever run into any issues. But they actually haven't. They've stayed up for like over a year. So
that's awesome.
So it's really cool stuff. So I'm excited to try the offline mode too.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll be the first to know.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much, Brent.
All right.
Okay. Bye. All right, now we're going to hear from JP.
Hey, Liz.
Hello.
So,
how's it going?
Good. It's going well. I'm actually making progress on this very important how much water is left in my espresso machine's reservoir project.
Yes.
And speaking of Adafruit IO, if you bring up my screen there that I'm sharing, you can see this is a feed of the water tank level. Except right now it's just this distance sensor sitting on my workbench and nowhere near the machine. But you'll see right now I've got it setting every, I believe, 5 seconds it'll update. So let's see. This is saying about here comes a fresh one, about 2 centimeters distance. And now as we get out to, let's say, 10, 12 centimeters distance, something like that, we'll see the level will drop and the color will change. And then we can get out to where it's, I think at 21 centimeters is where we are about to actually run out of water in the tank. And it's time to go and take care of things. So this is something I'll be showing more details about tomorrow on my show. But kind of the neat things that are going on here are I tested both a light sleep and a deep sleep mode, and used the Nordic power profiler so I could see what kind of current we were drawing in the 2 sleep modes, as well as when it wakes up, pings Wi-Fi. And I did some power calculations, and I think it'll be pretty reasonable to get a month or even more from a fairly reasonable battery, like a 2200 milliamp hour LiPo, by checking every 10 minutes. And maybe Lamar just had this suggestion earlier, just check during the part of the day when the machine is on, because obviously things won't be changing once I turn it off, which is usually somewhere around 3 p.m., 4 p.m. So if I go from 6 a.m. to then, I might be getting a month and a half on a battery, which is, reasonable for a LiPo user plug in and charge every once in a while device. In my use case, I probably will just have it plugged in all the time, but it won't, so it won't matter. But the idea behind doing the Learn Guide is to make it useful for people who want to do remote monitoring if they have a water tank or a fluid tank of some kind that they need to monitor. And it turns out the ultrasonic sensor works well because it's not light. It doesn't care that we're trying to look at a clear liquid, which most of the light sensors have a problem with. So this looks like it might be the path forward.
That's great. And I don't think we have too many projects that use low power mode. I usually use the PPK, which you're talking about, for our product guides, if they have the LiPo charger on board, but I don't think we've really used it in projects. So it'd be good to see like a real world application for it too.
This little guy here, if people aren't familiar with it, it is absolutely fantastic. Nordic has a great software suite you can use with it. The way I've got it configured, I'm just plugging in this little JST 2-pin connector into the Feathers battery port, and this will power it and do the current readings as well. This can also be used as like a little mini logic analyzer. I've never used it for that. But it's great. It gives you a graph. I'll show some of that stuff tomorrow. You can export a CSV file if you want to do some analysis on it or plot it or whatever. But very excited about getting not just I think it'll last a few weeks, but instead getting some real numbers on it, which is really nice.
That's awesome, and looking forward to your show tomorrow, JP.
Thanks so much, Liz. Take care.
All right, have a good one. Bye. All right, and now we have a member of the community, Paul Cutler, to play us out.
Hi, Liz.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good.
Just wanted to come on the show and share that after a 1-year hiatus, I brought back my podcast, the CircuitPython Show.
Yes.
So it kicked off last week with Squid.jpg, aka Aaron Penley. And we talked about some of his cool projects, like the top secret lunchbox that he built with CircuitPython. And next week will be Jan Goolsby, who is Seagrover in the community, sharing how he built a corrosion monitor and weather system.
Very cool.
Yes, so there'll be shows every 2 weeks going through at least May so far. So I've got tons of guests coming on.
Wow.
Mixing it up this time. Instead of just interviews, I'll be doing some topic-based ones like the weather system with Jan. We're talking about how to build a PCB, how to build CircuitPython to run on that PCB. So lots of cool shows coming up.
That's great. And I love your podcast. You have the CircuitPython show. You also have the bootloader with Toddbot, another member of the community.
Yep.
So it's great that you're doing this for the community, and it's great to listen to.
Yep. So check it out. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Paul.
Thanks, Liz.
Okay. Have a good one. All right, that is going to do it for tonight's show and tell. And as Paul just said, be sure to check out the CircuitPython Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts. In about 15 minutes, Ask an Engineer will be right here live with Lady Ada and Mr. Lady Ada. Until then, though, go grab a snack, and we'll see you later. Have a good one.